Okay, Cecilia, thank you so much for joining us. Really excited to speak with you. Just by sort of way of introduction and some background, you're currently the CEO of Hive Dynamics. You've had a long career in finance as well, and you're also a very large supporter of some important causes, including the founder of Tech Women Today. Um, Entrepreneur, tech executive. Did I miss anything?
Uh,
And,
you
and
know,
other levels.
all that stuff. Yeah.
Okay, great. Well, excited to chat with you today and talk a bit about what you're doing. Very interested in what you're doing today, but also you've got a really extensive and interesting background in terms of where you came up in finance. You started on the trading floor. You worked your way up to senior executive at major banks. Um, and now you're a CEO of a dynamic new technology company. So, uh, how did technology and sort of your use and interest in data evolve from the trading floor to where you are today? What's some of the things you saw change or sort of pushing the industry?
Yeah, I mean, it certainly didn't, it certainly wasn't the plan in terms of, working in technology and thinking that I was going to have this career in tech at all. I think for me, um, it was really about, I've always wanted to be in a career where I felt challenged, where I felt like I was constantly learning. I think that that was always important for me. And one of the things I absolutely love about working at Hive right now is, definitely from a data perspective, it's helping clients to access data in a way where they thought they're able to use that information in a way where what they thought was formerly impossible now becomes possible.
Yeah.
And that I find that so exciting. I remember when I first started off in banking, I absolutely found it challenging. I thought that, wow, this is such a great group of people that I'm working with. This is such an in this interesting area that I'm working in, and I really felt like I was each day just really growing in my career. I think
Yeah.
that with tech in particular, um, what I found really interesting, particularly from a data perspective, was that this is something that people are always going to need. So, in terms of the information and the insights that you get from data, that's where it really becomes useful. So, the ability of how you get data faster and in a more precise way is really important to clients. That's never going to change. People are always going to look at how they can leverage data in order to save money and save time. Companies are going to need that more and more. It's not
Yeah.
something that's going to stop. It's what gives them competitive edge. And career wise, I always sort of gravitated towards those areas where it was something where it was always going to be relevant, but at the same time, it was dynamic and it was changing. So, although I started off within banking, it still continued to be in an area where focused within tech, focused within how you can use technology in order to gather more precise forms of data.
Yeah, no, that's so interesting, and it's one of our favorite topics on this series is the practical usage of data. I think so much has happened where we've missed the point of why we're collecting it and storing it and sharing it and reporting on it. We've sort of approached data, I think, over the last 5 to 10 years, just in terms of having it,
Mhm.
and that's been sort of a mess. And I think we're sort of reaching a new stage now where we're trying to bring pragmatism back into this and really make it usable. The point is that it's supposed to drive decision making. It's supposed to have an impact. As you said, it's supposed to be a competitive advantage. Um, when you were at Citigroup, you were sort of managing a lot at a very interesting time. I think you probably had around 8,000 people with probably 1,000 systems over many sites. Uh, how did you manage that sort of at scale in a practical way? What were the sort of biggest challenges you faced? Managing the operational data for accurate insights, getting ROI from your capital investments in large software purchases, automating processes. What sort of were the main things you faced? Because that's quite a lot to be responsible for.
Yeah, I think with any business as you grow, uh, the main challenge is always going to be about how can I maintain continue to maintain high standards. So that's going to be high levels of quality in terms of what you're doing internally and also externally for your clients, making sure that you have governance in place where you have controls and you're managing risk, but you're doing it in a way where it doesn't hinder innovation, where it doesn't stifle growth. Also, I think that one of the worst some of the worst experiences I've ever had is when you're working in an organization and there's so much red tape and there's so much bureaucracy and so much over engineering of process where you really feel that you can't even get your job done. I mean, I remember those days where you would have a meeting about a meeting for a meeting that you're having in a week for to prep for a meeting that you're having in a month from now, and it was just soul crushing. So I think for any business, it's really about, okay, data is so important, and how can I capture data in a way where you're able to gain helpful insights, and you're able to have that knowledge so that you have an understanding of, okay, how can I save time? How can I save money, or reduce costs? How can I generate revenue in a profitable manner? And overall, how can I just have stability? I think it gets back to that point where I was talking about how it's important to maintain that high standard with an organization, even as you grow and scale. And one of those key things is maintaining that culture that allows for innovation and it allows for growth. So, one of the key things is that stability where people want to stay within your organization. They feel that they're growing with the organization because that's only going to contribute to stability. So, that's really the key challenges that I see around as you're growing and as you're scaling, maintaining that environment and that culture that allows for innovation.
Yeah, yeah, no, that's great, and in a little bit, eager to sort of talk about how you've transferred sort of your approach to culture to your new business. But one more question back to your finance days. I'm just curious because sort of the time period you were there, the expectations and capabilities of technology and data changed so much. And I'm just sort of curious, between automated trading system, algorithmic investments, big data. What during your career there was the biggest change? What sort of changed the game the most? What was the biggest impact?
Yeah, I have sort of a different spin on it in a way where I think that from what I saw, one of the biggest changes and what's had the biggest impact is that when you look at job creation, uh, jobs that you see now, many of them didn't even exist 10 years ago or even 5 years ago, especially within this space of data. There weren't chief data scientists, several years ago, big data analysts. And I think that's something that's going to definitely continue within this space, and that there's going to be continue to be more levels of seniority placed in this area of data in terms of the different roles that are available. And I think that that's going to continue. What started in finance is going to continue in other industries. So finance is usually a trailblazer in the area of many things when we think about from a tech perspective, and definitely it has been in terms of data. So you're going to see across other industries where they're going to start to place more of an emphasis in terms of bringing in these roles in the areas of data, and making them more senior level roles. But for me, particularly over the last several years, that's what I've seen is the most impact, is that these new jobs that will continue to spur up in the space of data.
Yeah, no, absolutely. The amount of new titles that we're seeing pop up, and is it chief data officer, chief analytics officer? What's the name of it? Either way, what companies are sort of grasping at, right? They're trying to find a way to add some executive oversight and structure to what is sort of their biggest asset. And potentially liability. But now you're the CEO of a very fascinating and cutting edge company at Hive Dynamics. And I am curious what sort of inspired you to move from one of the most sort of traditional established industries into the ever changing and kind of avant garde world of advanced robotics and sensors. What sort of led to that?
That's a good question because, yeah, if you would have told me several years ago, yeah, you're going to be CEO of a sensor technology company, I would tell you, yep, you're crazy. No, that's not. um, but now, of course, it would make sense when I really think about it. And that what I've always loved about tech is just innovation. And what I loved about being in finance and in technology is that, as I said, technology and finance is usually quite trailblazing in terms of what they are doing around systems development, around data, and just around different client solutions. So I always wanted to continue to be in that space around innovation and really thinking about technology that is really going to help the masses. Sensor technology, it's really one of those foundational type of technologies that we just need. I love technology that impacts the masses, and and sensor technology is definitely within this space. It's almost like Intel. When you remember that saying, powered by Intel. So because it's one of those foundational technologies that just really powers everything, it powers the world. So Hive, similarly with sensors, it's really one of those technologies that's quite foundational. And so I always say, yeah, I envision a world powered by Hive.
Yeah, no, that's so great, and it leads really well into the next thing I wanted to ask you about because, I think often the way we think about and talk about data is consumption. How do we take it in, aggregating inputs, moving from A to B, generating insights. But you described Hive as foundational. I don't know if this is what you meant, but it's also upstream of consumption, right? It's a pioneer of creation and collection of data points. And I'm just curious if your experience managing data consumption at scale, led to any of your interest in sort of being a producer of data, not just a consumer.
It definitely aligned because in starting to work with Hive's technology, when we first got together as the founders and started to think about, the type of business that we wanted to form around this, one of the first things that popped into my head was, yeah, this is great technology, but also when you think about the data that you get from the tech and the precision of the data that you get from the tech,
Yeah,
it's a complete game changer.
absolutely.
So that was something, and that definitely is something that I take from my years of working in finance in terms of one, definitely understanding and appreciating the value of not only volumes of data, but the precision and the quality of the data that you get is so important. It's so powerful. So I always say Hive's technology, it's so simple in that our sensors basically capture more precise data, and that precision is power. So that's really what definitely attracted me to the amazing potential that this tech can bring across multiple industries. And as I said, it's really technology that can help the masses, and that's the area of tech that I was always interested in, is tech that can really help to benefit masses of people and not just a niche, small area of people.
No, for sure, and you certainly are in that space now. You talked about precision, which I'm really interested in. The investment and collection of storage at scale, big data, sheer volume being sort of the focus for the last several years. Um, you know, your competitive advantage really seems to be about precision, not volume, but the accuracy, precision of sensor data, not just the quantity of what you're providing. And I don't want to be a contributor to buzzwords or hype cycles, but is precise data the new big data? Should it be? Is that a healthier paradigm for the market?
Yes, I think so. Because the precision of the data is really key because that's where you have better quality of data, and that's where you get the powerful insights and information that you need in order to make better decisions as an organization, in order to be more efficient, in order to be faster, in order to understand how you can be less costly. That's what's impactful. Um, what I love about Hive's technology is that we do focus on precision of data. And that's really about just getting the basics right. It's about making sure that you have the right foundation. Once you're able to ensure that the precision of your data is there, then you can worry about scaling and growing from there. It's almost like building a house, and you have to make sure that you have the right foundation. And in my mind, that's definitely making sure that your data is accurate, that it's precise.
Yeah.
And then you can go, once you have the right foundation in the house, then you can go and build walls and, build rooms and worry about, finding the right paint color and decorating and
Hmm.
everything. But first you've got to get the right foundation in. And for me, that definitely starts with the precision of the data.
Yeah, no, 100%. And to sort of stick with your analogy there, you know, I assume that the data Hive produces for your clients to some extent has additional value as it is sort of aggregated or mixed with other operational data in their business. And so, in a way, there's not just a house, but probably an entire city of structures and things that have been built. And you're coming in at the foundation level, at the ground floor, to sort of help them get better insights. What are the challenges integrating something very precise with, legacy
Mhm.
ecosystems in those businesses that are not precise?
Yeah, integration is so key because I remember in previous roles where technology companies would come and pitch to us as a bank, and I would remember thinking, all right, that's a cool piece of tech, very forward thinking in terms of what it can do. But then, I'm thinking, oh my goodness, this is going to take forever to implement. It's going to be a nightmare to get through compliance. It's going to be, can this even integrate with any of our legacy technologies? So, in terms of thinking about sensor technology and Hive sensor technology, one of the key things is that, of course, you need the ability to make sure that you're able to not only integrate, but you're also able to help a client understand how they can simplify their internal structures. So it's really about reducing reliance on legacy technology. It's helping, which is going to help the client to understand how they can reduce their technology risk.
Hmm.
And also, that's going to help to improve the level of their data precision. Once you are able to get to that point of not only integration, but over time, helping them to simplify also. So it's really those two key things, I think. It's really around integration, but also the simplification of the tech.
Oh yeah, totally. No, that those are certainly challenges we face, but principles that I think we sort of stick to as well. If you've been through enough iterations, you know what happens when that doesn't get done right.
It's a
This might be,
nightmare.
yeah,
And it
you could.
becomes like a big bowl of spaghetti where like you just start, attaching it and you just can't undo it. And then all of a sudden you
Yeah,
have like all of these messes of technology. So of course, anybody would appreciate that any tech that you want to integrate into your existing environment, yes, it has to definitely be able to integrate with existing technology, but I want to understand also how I'm going to be able to simplify this over time.
yeah, yeah, absolutely, absolutely. So this might be a bit arbitrary, but I'm curious about it. Hypothetically, if you had Hive's technology during your time as an executive in finance, what would you have done with it? What do you think could have been achieved if you had that back then?
Oh my gosh. Well, I think if I had found out about Hive's technology, back then, I probably would have had a different career path a lot sooner, because as I said, I've always been interested in technology where it was going to have impact on the broader masses. So that I probably would have changed careers a lot sooner, because what can happen is that you feel like you're can be on this hamster wheel when you're, because a lot of people think of tech as this umbrella, but there's different types of tech. And I definitely wanted to be in something that was innovative, where I didn't feel like I was on this hamster wheel of just going around and around and around, working in an area of tech, but it wasn't really going anywhere. I wanted to get off of that hamster wheel and be going somewhere. I wanted to be a part of something that had significance. I wanted to be a part of something that was impacting and had the ability to impact over numerous industries, not just one industry. Um, I was at that point in my career where I wanted to be about something that had purpose, and that I could see the broader impact of day to day work that I was doing. That was very important to me. So I think that if, and that's the beauty of technology, is that new things are always coming up where, something that didn't exist several years ago, now it's here, and now there's the opportunity to work in it, that space. So I found this is something where, this is something that has purpose. This is something that I want to be a part of. This is something that is going to impact people at all different levels across multiple industries. And that's something that I wanted to be a part of.
Yeah. No, that's great. Certainly has a bit of a limitless upside in terms of where you can go with it. I think that's really interesting. One of the things we like to talk about is the role of translation in technology and data. There are sometimes viewed, especially in legacy businesses, as sort of a two sides to this. You have business and you have IT, and you're trying to somewhat bridge the gap. We love talking to people who have experience in both worlds, especially in managing both worlds. Most importantly, integrating those teams so that the objectives, the context, the purpose of the business that is being sort of worked on through IT, the context isn't lost, and that work is sort of done throughout your career. How have you sort of worked as a translator, or seen that kind of be necessary or helpful in your business?
That's a perfect word for it, a translator, between the business and IT, because oftentimes, and I remember just throughout my career and starting off working in a trading environment, you would have situations where you have a technologist who's really proud of what he's building and thinks it's really cool. And then you'd have, the trader who just wants the ability, sort of simple things in terms of them being able to, grow the amount of money that they're looking at, improve their risk, and you just have simple requirements in terms of what they're expecting. And oftentimes it would have to be that translator between making sure that in terms of what we're building, that it's adding value to that end user. And I think sometimes that can get lost in translation. And that's something that continues even to my current role, where it's making sure that, although as great and innovative and forward thinking and our tech is, it needs to add value to that end user. And that's really how you go from uh, sort of the lab in terms of what you're doing from a tech perspective to the market. And that really gets around commercialization of tech and thinking about it in that way, where of course my technology can do many great things, but what's going to add value? What's that specific thing that I'm going to continue to iterate and build out to address that client need? And making sure that need that I'm addressing is not something that's so focused on a small group, but it's something that has the potential to impact the masses. That's something where you go to the next level in terms of thinking about tech. And that's something that I think is so key, especially going forward with even the world that we're in right now. It's really understanding how we can leverage tech that's really going to impact the masses in a positive way and add value in that perspective. And I think the more and more we close that gap between what technology thinks is really cool and really necessary and what's truly going to add value to the masses, that's where we're really going to see and continue to see actually tremendous things from the industry of technology.
Yeah, no, that's so interesting, because the use case and the value prescribed to any technology it is so critical. There is a lot of context there, but if you want to be powered by Intel, powered by uh, Hive, you have to have this wide scope, this broad sort of application. And I think that that can be probably really hard to manage at both times, right? We see this with sort of any product. I want to deliver you a product that works the way it does, and I don't want to, have to configure it to the point that it's something different for your use case. But Hive is seems to be really well positioned to apply itself to automotive, hospital networks, any variety of industries. It appears like you guys are ready to impact the masses, but are there any use cases specifically in an industry or a customer need or a safety procedure? Is there any sort of use cases that, as you guys got started, were kind of anchor points for what you guys were looking to achieve?
Yeah, I think as you know, so many technologies have the ability to cut across so many different industries, but you have to be focused, especially when you're growing a company and you can't have what I call this sort of peanut butter style of what your tech can do in terms of you can just spread it across anything. So you got to be quite focused in terms of what you're trying to deliver and where you feel the value is at a given point. Definitely for us at this point, it's definitely in the area of health, particularly within health. It's around remote health monitoring. We saw this gap in the market for very thin, flexible sensors that can be embedded so that it can get better, more accurate reads on remote health monitoring from a physical and a mental health perspective. So our sensors have the ability to get readings in terms of temperature, blood pressure, blood oxygen, respiration, and then also looking at things such as sweat and cortisol levels, because then you can get a sense of, okay, from a mental health perspective, how is somebody doing? Are they feeling anxiety? Are they feeling fatigued? And that takes things to another level. I think, especially now, so especially post pandemic that we're trying to get into, the world of remote health monitoring, it was already an area of growth, but now it's just expanded and will continue to grow. So we're continuing to see such demand for using sensor technology in the area of health, in the area of remote health monitoring across multiple surfaces where they want to be able to apply sensors, whether it be within wearables, within hearables, within garments that are across somebody's body, to different appliances and medical devices that are already currently being used in terms of tracking health and already using sensors, but people just want smarter sensors because the data that they want to capture, they want it to be even more precise. So that's definitely an area for us where it's definitely a focus for us, but also it's an area where we're seeing such growth and such potential. But also, as I said previously, it's an area that just affects the masses.
Yeah.
And that's something that we feel very proud to be a part of.
Oh my, sure. I bet it's very exciting and very real. Your point around you know pre and post pandemic, or whatever it is that we're calling this current period. I guess it's pandemic or back end. We'll see. Fingers crossed. But across the board, virtualization and we're kind of seeing digital transformation for real now, and the need to actually transform a lot of practices we used to do into virtual and digital experiences. So, yeah, telehealth is one thing, and that has value. I know in diabetes, there are new tools now that track at a very sort of minute level your blood glucose levels and can send that data back to your doctor, and you can monitor it yourself. Um, and it's sort of very interesting to me in the case of being able to produce the data is one thing and
Mhm.
amazing, and that's innovation. and just something incredible to affect the masses. But to be applied to something, to have action taken on it, I would imagine there's somewhat of a value chain, a network of partnerships that you'd want to work with who can make practical use of this information to integrate it into decision making process, to have it be part of what they use to run a company, to manage their own health. Um, what kind of partnerships do you guys have, or do you think you need to have to really sort of hit the market at scale and have that very positive impact on the masses?
No, definitely. I think that in terms of from a health perspective, I mean, we have partnered with different providers that also provide, like we're a hardware company. That's our core. That's our focus. So when the pandemic hit, actually, we thought, you know what? Who are the different organizations and different types of companies that we can partner with in order to make sure that when we're looking at remote health monitoring solutions, we are able to deliver to the masses and we are able to not only collect the data, but also able to help those organizations leverage that data in real-time manners and being able to digest that data in a way where they're able to get the intelligence and the insights in a way where it allows them to make better decisions, make proactive decisions. So we partnered with software providers. We partnered with other different types of technology providers. One software provider that we worked with was Vantic. So Vantic provides real-time apps, and that's so needed now in terms of this sort of area when we start thinking about 5G and the demand for real-time access to data, especially in the area of remote health. So working with a company like Vantic, who is an absolute powerhouse in the areas of working with clients to help them develop real-time app solutions to help them digest that data and to process that data and to use that data in an intelligent manner was absolutely key for us as a hardware sensor company. And then also partnering with other organizations, whether it be remote health monitoring companies. We're looking at other partnerships with companies that are manufacturers of wearables and hearables also, because that's something where you're able to really leverage technology and create synergies in a way where you're delivering solutions that are just impacting the masses of people. So when you start getting into discussions around smart cities, and when you
Yeah.
start getting into discussions around being able to positively disrupt industries such as remote health monitoring health and extending it across other areas, that's where putting together that community of players from a tech perspective, that's where you're going to be unstoppable and really provide those powerhouse solutions that are so needed, especially in times such as this.
Oh, yeah, no, it's a really unique opportunity to be in position to create what I think is sort of inherently truth, right? You're finding out what is actually happening, whatever it is, whatever the sensor is sort of producing data on. It is giving information on the truth of the matter and what that information means, and then the ability to sort of take that to the next level. I think requires so much more than people think to apply that truth to a good end, but. It's a real cool space. I would like to be powered by Hive in one way or the other. So I'll look into that, see where I can sort of apply it to my wearables and so on. Maybe on my kids too. That might be helpful. Um, I'd be remiss to not mention your incredible work in spaces such as Women in Tech. I think personally, my mom worked in technology throughout the 90s and in finance. So I think it's a really great area to see where it's gone and developed, and the way you've led it is
Mm.
very appealing, very nice, and very refreshing. It's not my place to sort of to comment on, but I am curious. During your career, uh, what sort of things have positively evolved as it pertains to women in technology, and maybe what are some areas that need a little bit more work?
Yeah, I think I've so much enjoyed just the area of just helping people, even outside of technology, just realize their potential and just to realize that as individuals, they have so much power to really decide what are the options that they want to pursue within their career and also just within life. So know your power is something that's so key and foundational to a lot of things that I do and I talk about, and it definitely extends to tech women today. I think with tech women today, one of the things that I thought was so important when I first started it, because there were so many women in tech groups and I doing great things, and I didn't just want to start another women in tech group. But what I wanted to do was have an organization that really helped to expand the definition of what it means to be somebody working in tech. You don't necessarily have to be a programmer or this amazing coder. That was one thing that I think holds a lot of people back from pursuing a career in technology, and also encourage parents encouraging their children, their daughters, to pursue a career in technology. So I think that's one thing. You don't necessarily have to come from studying a career in STEM in schools. For instance, I was a political science major and wouldn't have changed a thing, but I didn't come from a sort of a traditional technology or science type of a background educationally. So I think that was a key part of it, is really doing the work and the programming to eliminate some of those myths. And then also, it was important that people, you don't have to work in a technology company in order to work in tech. Tech is something across so many industries. You could be working in fashion and have a tech career. You could be in art and doing something in tech. You could be in healthcare and doing something in tech. So I think that was another way of showing that it wasn't an all or nothing type of thing. Either you are a coder and or you're not in tech, or you are working at a technology company and or you're not in tech. So I think one, it was expanding the definition of what it meant to be working in technology. And the other thing was also just you didn't have to necessarily have a career in technology. So a lot of what Tech Women today does is to work with non-technical female entrepreneurs that need to understand better how they can leverage technology in order to grow and scale their businesses. Because I think definitely from what we've seen with the pandemic, technology is a key part of making sure that your business is going to be able to have the ability to survive during difficult times. So what we really wanted to do was really remove the fear factor behind tech, where and a lot of the myths behind tech. And I always say fear is a liar. So once you remove the fear, you really see all the different possibilities that are open to you. And the tech industry today, it's one of those industries where jobs that exist now didn't exist 5 years ago or 10 years ago. And that's going to continue to evolve. And that's the type of industry that I would want to be in, where there's constantly these new opportunities for me to get involved in different roles and be relevant and reinvent myself and to be a part of it. And to make that change as my lifestyle changes and as my interests change. So that's why I've always stayed within tech, even though I perhaps changed companies or changed areas or changed focus in terms of industry. But it's really about making sure that we're creating an environment where people feel like tech is more inclusive to them, and part of that is really expanding the definition of what it means to be working in tech.
Yeah, I love that. I majored in ancient Greek rhetoric in college for my undergrad. I'm not even very good at using Microsoft Excel. I have no technical skills myself, but I think if it's tech women today or opportunities for anyone in general,
Anyone.
that myth is so real. It took me 10 years to have the confidence to even talk about data and software, right? Because I assumed you had to code, right? Or you had to have actuarial mathematical skills to sort of be part of the game. But What I think has really happened now is so much has been commodified in technology, automated, and normalized, and amazing talents in people coding, amazing people creating new things for sure. But there is this massive gap and opportunity for people that you're really bringing to light, which is uh, this needs translators, decision makers, this needs business people of any background to come in and use these foundational pieces towards good causes and to get a lot of things done. I think it's the role of the future. It's many roles. I don't know what it's called. I hope to be I hope to be one of them, but it is certainly a myth, and that's great that you're using your time there to sort of push that. That's certainly applicable to all of us who weren't good at math and science as well. Well, I think for me, Cecilia, that's the time I wanted to sort of take from you. I really appreciate it. This was incredibly insightful and valuable. Looking forward to see what happens with Hive in the future. I'm sure it's going to be very cool. And thank you so much.
Oh, thank you so much. I really enjoyed my time speaking with you. And yeah, I'm looking forward to the future of Hive also. As I said, I envision a world powered by Hive. So, yes.
Powered by Hive. That's what we should call this. This one will be titled Powered by Hive.
Powered by Hive. I love it.
Powered by Hive. Shout it from the rooftops. Thank you so much, Cecilia.
Thank you.
Have a good one.
You too.